just a quick video, or I hope it's gonna be a quick video. As I have bought more tools, I've also accumulated more chargers for those cordless ones, because I usually just buy the whole set and not the skins. And so now I have 3 chargers, and they're kind of in the way just being on the bench. So I want to mount it onto the wall, just like all my other tools. And to do that, I want to make a specific platform for it. Trying to pick the right piece of wood is always the hardest part of any project. To mount the charger on, I'm going to use some dowels to index on the 4 corners of the bottom, and then just stick the 4 dowels on the board. Then put the charger on, and then I'll just use a cam on the bottom to wedge it in place, and that should be secure enough to prevent it from falling off when I put the board vertically, and also hold it in place while I take the battery out. So about 9, and I've got a dowel here that is about 9.5, so I'll just turn this on the lathe. Since the holes are all very close to 8mm, I can put in one of these 8mm dowel finders into the holes and then use them to find the location of where I need to drill. And the tape just helps prevent the dowel finders from dropping out when I place them down. Looks like we've got a problem. Looks like I've somehow managed to drill the holes or mark the holes to be quite off for the middle one. Not quite sure how I did it, because I had aligned both chargers alongside when I marked the holes. So probably Murphy's Law again. Instead of trying to fill out the holes, I'm probably going to just switch the whole thing around and then redraw it from this side. Now that it all fits, even though some of the gaps aren't that even, I'll just glue the dowels in place. As you can see how hard I had to press the chargers down in order to get them to all fit in, and how skewed some of the holes are, you can probably imagine that it's not going to be an easy fit. So I'm going to have to sand down some of it by just filing the edges of the dowels. Now it fits much easier. And then I'll make some cams at the bottom to really jam it in, so that I don't accidentally remove the whole charger when removing the battery. Now to mount it on, I want the cam to finish right about there, so that it's almost flush with the edge. And I also need to account for a spacer, so you'll probably start around here. And I'll just use a smaller screw to mark the hole. Probably should have made the board a little bit thicker. Just gut feeling, hopefully it doesn't, you know, jinx it. Well, at least one of them worked as intended. which is to stop the whole charger from coming off when I lift the battery out. And that's the cam that I use to mark out all the other hole locations. The others are just a little bit too loose because of the size difference. So I'll just adjust the shim that I've got here. So I've got all the shims made for the cams and also the special clamp for the new charger, and that is because when removing the battery from the new charger it requires quite a bit of upward force from it, and that seemed to always overpower the cam that was once on it and lift the whole charger up alongside. So that's why I had to make a clamp for it. Well, desperate situation calls for desperate measures. I probably should have made a clamp just like this one for all of the other chargers, because this is far more secure than just trying to jam it in. However, the downside is that having these clamps does make it a little bit slower to remove the charger when I needed to, and a little bit more difficult as well. Next, I want to do some cable management by building a box around the back that has a lid to lift open, so that I can put all these cables in and just hide them behind. Might as well do the hinges. Probably should sharpen my chisels, they're starting to rust. For the lid, I'm just going to be using this normal piece of pine. I've cut some bevels on either side, and that is so that I can practice making a curved lid. Should be fun. The last stage is to smooth it out with some sandpaper. Yes, and so it works. Alright, time to put everything back on here. It is quite tight to get all 3 cords to be inside, but I managed to just get it in. Probably should have made the box a little bit bigger, but now it should work. I've also made some more cutouts on the front panel so that these can be removed to allow the bulky bit of the cord to pass through. Now I just need to mount it onto the wall and call it done. I could have mounted it even higher so that even at eye level it is still possible to see the lights on the older chargers, while the new one has no problem for it. But then I have the problem with the ceiling height, and if I mount it any higher I'm afraid that the lid won't actually go all the way, and that might be a problem. The complexity of how I wrap the wires inside the box really discourages me from taking the chargers outside. And that is because whenever I take them out, I'll have to untangle and rewrap the cords again to the same complexity, which is even harder when it's up high. Apart from that, my chargers finally have a set home somewhere that is dedicated for them, instead of just wandering around my bench. Put it on a wall mainly because to save space and to save any bench space I have available, which is really lacking in this workshop. Overall, I really should have made the box a lot bigger to store the cords, because I really underestimated of how messy they can get and how much space they can take up. And instead of cutting holes in the front panel, I probably should have just made a cutout in the lid so that all the wires can just go through the lid, and that would make removing them a lot easier. I might eventually make a acrylic lid to go over the whole thing, so to prevent dust from getting in. I don't have any acrylic on hand, so I'll have to wait until I can get some. As usual, leave a like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.